Welcome everyone to Sweaty Tryhard 101. Today on BlackTideTV I'm going to be telling you guys how to create a class worthy of a Sweaty Tryhard. In this video we're going to be talking about every single part of your class in Modern Warfare Remastered, everything that you need to know to make yourself the best. These are all of the most overused, overpowered things in the entire game. I'm using them in both gameplays you're going to see today. We're going to break down this class, every single part of it. This is the most used class, the most overpowered class. You're going to see this being used by everybody and their brother. And honestly, you're going to get sick of it, but I mean, if everyone else is going to do it, you might as well do it too. So let's jump right into it. This class that you're seeing on screen right now is the class that we're going to be building today. Now we're going to go through and we're going to detail every single part of this class. We're going to talk about the primary, the secondary, the attachments, all of the perks, your tactical equipment, and what to do with your lethal equipment. Now there are some things in this class that you can swap out for other items, and we will talk about those when we get there. But for the most part, this is the class you're going to be looking at for doing the best in all of your games, for competing with every other tryhard out there. So let's jump right into it. The first thing that you're going to need on your class is the good old M16A4. You cannot go wrong with this weapon. It is the best gun in the game, hands down. There is no competition there. You can't even argue with me that the M16 is the best gun in the game. No competition, no argument. It's the best. Put it on your class. Now, the M16 does have one major downside. There's one big bad thing about the M16 for most people anyways, and that is the iron sights. The iron sights are completely abysmal on the M16. What you're going to need to do is put on the red dot sight. This will basically make you a god because now your gun is a laser. You know exactly where your bullets are going to hit. You can see that spot very clearly. There's a big wide open space. Some people like ACOG on here, but for the most part, ACOG is kind of AIDS because you get into a close range engagement, you can't see shit, and you're going to get killed. So you're going to want to use the red dot sight because it helps you at close range, it helps you at long range, and it gets rid of that terrible iron sight. So you're going to need to have the red dot sight on your M16 at all times. So red dot sight M16, there's your first weapon, there's your first part of this big class that we're building. It's the most important part. You cannot do this class without an M16. It's not possible. It's the best gun in the game. You can't have a Sweaty Tryhard class with the sweatiest gun in the game in that class. Second weapon. This is where we get into our first thing that you can kind of swap back and forth with. There are two really good pistols in this game. There's the M1911, which is a little bit weaker. It can shoot a little bit faster, and what's kind of like the mediocre pistol in the game. And then there's the Deagle. You can put on the Desert Eagle if you want. Personally, I don't like the Desert Eagle as much. It's very high power. It's very high in power, but it's going to kick a lot. It's going to be pretty hard to use. For the most part, you're only using your pistol if you run out of ammo with your M16, or if you get into some situation where you haven't reloaded yet, you need to swap over and just spam out a couple shots, or in like the most dire situation. So you're basically never going to be using your pistol except for a few odd cases, because generally what I like to do is if I find a good weapon on the ground, if I see something great that I want to pick up, a sniper rifle or something, if I want to engage an enemy at a longer distance, I will just swap out to my pistol and pick up that gun instead and then use that, and I just won't use my pistol at all. So pistol isn't as important, but you can use the Desert Eagle if you want something a little bit more powerful that you can just completely spam and just drop people at really close range. If you want something that's going to be better from close to medium range, if you want something that you can engage multiple enemies with a single clip, you're probably going to want to go with the M1911. It's my personal favorite just because it's kind of that mediocre pistol between fast fire rate and accuracy and high damage, whereas like the M9 can fire ridiculously fast. It has a lot of ammo capacity. It does dick all for damage. It takes like 6 or 7 shots to kill. It's completely ridiculous. It's terrible. And then the USP is kind of a little bit better in the damage area than the M9, and then the M1911 is a little bit better on top of that. The Desert Eagle, of course, is the complete opposite, where it has the highest damage, but it's got like pretty terrible accuracy, and it's just going to kick like crazy. Yes, you can spam it and just wreck people at close range, use it like a shotgun more or less, like an AA-12 or something like that, but for the most part, if you want to engage enemies past extremely close range, the M1911 will be the best for you. So that is your secondary weapon. Pretty detailed considering you're barely ever going to use it, but it is very important. You're not going to want to use some crazy, stupid secondary like the M9. Moving on, we're talking about our equipment now. I always choose stuns because you can throw them the fastest. People like to use flashbangs just because they're assholes and they like to make your screen white for a good 15 to 20 seconds. But they're not as effective because they take like 20 years to throw. It's like pull the pin and you guys stand there and hold it and scratch his ass a little bit and then he throws it. It takes forever to throw a flashbang. It's ridiculous. You don't want to use flashbangs unless you're I don't even know the situation in which you would want to use a flashbang. Maybe playing like an objective-based game mode or something where you know that there's enemies taking B and you can throw a flashbang over a wall and get them or something. I don't even know. I don't use flashbangs. They're stupid. Use stun grenades. They throw ridiculously fast. Like, you throw it, you can throw it like 14 of them by the time you throw one flashbang. So, stuns. Incredibly powerful. You can just whip those things across the map all day. I use stuns all the time. Smoke. If you don't even bring up smoke because that's like the stupidest thing in the game. Nobody uses smoke. It's completely useless. I don't even think there's challenges for smoke in this game. If you're using smoke, you're doing something wrong. So just don't use smoke. Don't use flashbangs. Use stuns and just whip that shit across the map all day. Throw it across the map. Throw it into rooms. Clear rooms and freeze people on the spot. And then you run in and you kill them all. It's a great tactical. Lethal you can't change in this game, but frags are very important. You're going to want to throw your frags as often as you possibly can. It depends on what perk 1 you're taking. We'll get into that in a second, but frags, you can sort of spawn and just throw them up into the air. Once you learn where the spawn locations are, you can more or less guarantee yourself a kill every time you spawn by just throwing a frag in the air. And if you only have one frag, I recommend you do that. But if you have all 3, you can throw 1 into the air and then save 2 later on for an objective or something like that. Say you run into another enemy down the line. Now let's get into our perks before we wrap up this video. Perk 1. This is another perk where you can change it out if you like. I personally prefer to use special grenades ×3 because I like to have 3 stuns so I can clear 3 rooms in 1 life. I can just chuck them and make sure there's nobody in those rooms. It's really great for search and destroy, stuff like that. Sweaty Tryhard game modes. But some people like to use frags ×3, which is a little bit more of a dick move, but it's still tryhardy enough that you can put it on this class. Frags ×3 is pretty great. Like I said, you can throw one off spawn and you can save 2 other frags for whenever you run into enemies on objective-based game modes, and you can just hose them down with frag grenades, throw one at one entrance to where they are, throw one at the other entrance to where they are, and they can't get out. They just instantly die. So frags are extremely powerful in this game, and frags ×3 is a worthy perk 1 for this class. Now perk 2 and 3 are non-negotiable. Perk 2, stopping power all the way. Stopping power M16, you are dropping people in one burst completely across the map. You can shoot someone in the kneecap and you will get a 1 burst across the frickin' map with stopping power M16. This is non-negotiable. You do not get to take stopping power off. No juggernaut. You don't need that shit. You don't need double tap or any of those other crappy perk 2s. Stopping power all the way. If you want to be a sweaty tryhard, if you want to be the best, you are using stopping power, hands down. It actually can counter jug itself. I'm going to be making an entire video all about that a little bit later on, so make sure you subscribe so you get that. Perk 3 is deep impact. This one, it's mostly non-negotiable. You can put on a different perk 3 if you really want to, but deep impact is the best because it does increase your bullet penetration on objects. So that's going to get you better collats. That's going to get you better shooting through walls and just hosing people down. If you know that there's an enemy on the other side of the wall and he knows that you're there, you don't want to come around the corner and try and shoot at him because he'll be aiming down sights waiting for you to come around the corner. You just back up a little bit and shoot him through the wall. Deep impact, super helpful there. Deep impact is also super helpful, as I said, with collats, and you can get collats with the M16 easily with deep impact. It's 100% the best perk for the M16 because the M16 is already such high damage. It already has such high stopping power, even without stopping power. And then when you add deep impact, basically nothing can get this weapon down. You can shoot through anything. You can kill anybody at any time. You can put on some other perk 3s, but I highly recommend deep impact. That is your lesson of Sweaty Tryhard 101 today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button. Comment down below what your Sweaty Tryhard class is, what you swapped out on this class, or if you have a completely other class, which you definitely shouldn't because this is the best class in the game. But let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you want more daily gaming goodness, and I'll see you guys on the next one.